Hi, my name is Ryan Conner with R&R Conner Inc. Some of you might recognize me from the History Channel's Axmen series. I'd like to take the next few minutes to take you on a tour to show you something that very few people have ever seen. This is the rest of the story. Basically what we're looking at here is the edge of the 2000 burn. You can look out ahead of us there and you can see that it goes on for a long ways. There's about 300,000 acres of this that burnt in 2000. We can fly around for hours and see the same scenario here. A lot of people don't know this is out here. And once again, this is all one fire of 2000. What we're looking at doing with R&R Conner is we want to go into these areas in the old burn. We want to pull out individual trees that still have value. My philosophy on it is one tree out of there is one less tree that's going to burn up, and it has value, and we need that to put people back to work. So let's do it. I mean, there's billions of board feet out here, literally, that's dead, that could go to market, be utilized for something. Anyways, this hillside right here in front of us, we could pick the logs up here with the helicopter and fly them directly over across the canyon to the road, and then we would put them on a truck at the road and take them to the log yard where they would be merchandised and cut into house logs or beam logs and sold to the customer. We can log from the existing road systems that we have and not ever have to build another road out here if we do it with a helicopter. If you look straight ahead here, what you're seeing is the stuff that we're logging off of the Middle East Fork project. It is bug hit timber hit with a Douglas fir bark beetle. The little beetle that gets in and it girdles the tree and kills and starves the tree out to where it dies. There's hundreds, probably 100,000 acres of that on this forest that we could go in and treat with the helicopter and go in and pick out individual trees and fly them to a log landing. And by doing that, we'd be cleaning up the forest or reducing the risk of a wildfire. Pretty much everywhere we fly back in here, you'll have this beetle hit, Doug fir. On all the edges of the fire, where the fire burned 2000, you'll be the beetles started in the burned areas and they moved their way out into the green timber. We've cut what we're going to cut in this particular unit. Everything that you see that's dead is going to get left. So everything's cut, and this is what it'll look like. You know, when we're done, you'll have trees that'll mimic what Mother Nature used to do with wildfire. We left all the mature trees, and it'll allow these trees to grow and not be competing with other trees. The Forest Service will go through here and they'll do a burn, and they'll burn all the stuff that's left on the ground and put the nutrients right back into the soil. Some more. This particular unit was done for the elk habitat. This is one of the units that the Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation really pushed for, because this is a critical area in here for the elk calving. You get a good view of it from here. It'll show it opened up the stand, you know, allowed for better grazing for the elk, and also reduced the risk of a wildfire. And when I turn around here, you're going to see what it looks like when they don't log it. So here if you look straight ahead, you got an example of an area that hasn't been logged. You still have all the dead trees sticking up in there. When a lightning storm comes through here, all these dead top trees here are just, they're kindling for a fire to get started is what they are. It's seasoned firewood is what it is. It's perfect firewood, and it's you know, when it falls down on the ground here and the fire gets in it, it's hard to put it out. And if it burns too hot, you get too big a buildup of it on the forest floor. It burns so hot it actually sterilizes the ground, and that's how your meadows are created. But these landowners down here are the ones that really pushed for this project to be done. They're the ones that went to the Forest Service under their fire plan after 2000 and wanted to protect their homes. They were instrumental in getting this project done. Well, there's a beautiful drainage back in here, surrounded by state and Forest Service. But this was all state stuff over here that was harvested after the burn. They went in and took all the dead stuff out. Got the fuel out of the forest while it still had value. So now we're going to get up here, we're going to be back in Forest Service. I mean, it's night and day. This is state right here below us and there's Forest Service above it. The Forest Service is handicapped by the special interest groups that don't want any commercial logging at all. I guess the big key to that is commercial. They don't think anything's commercially should be done on national forests. So, you know, they through some of the environmental laws that have been put in place, the Endangered Species Act is a big one, that hurdle for them to get through. Stream setbacks and all those issues that have been implemented over the last 30 years, you know, that were actually put into place for a good reason. They're now the hobbles that are keeping the Forest Service from being able to do their job. The state operates under a whole different set of regulations, so they're able to get right in and manage their forests. So I guess the purpose of this video that we're doing is to show people, you know, the difference between land that was cleared after the fire and land that wasn't cleared after the fire, and then also show what some of the methods of logging that you could use ahead of time before the fire burns. And also show the value of some of this burned stuff, like the house logs that we see below us here. They still have value. We want the dead standing. This is a good example here of what a forest looks like if it has been managed prior to the fire, and a forest that has never been managed at all. The stuff that we're looking at with all the fuel on the ground here is federal land. The U.S. Forest Service owns this, or we own it, I guess. Just on the other side is private ground that was logged before the fire back in the 80s, and they thinned it out, did a really good job of selecting good, you know, trees to leave. And when the fire hit this, it went to the ground, and it was just a ground fire. All it did was clean the fuel up off the ground. So if I turn around here, you'll get a look at what the difference between the Forest Service and the private ground that was managed. This is Forest Service ground right straight ahead of us, and there's a fence right there that separates it. All this fuel on the ground here, this has never been managed. You know, if they had done the same prescription as done on the private ground, you would have the same results as what's on the private ground. We got hundreds of thousands of acres, just like what we're looking at here. We're now going to take you down on the ground to introduce you to our consulting forester, Pat Cannell, and he's going to give you the ground tour, and you'll be able to see the difference of what good forest management is versus no management.
Hi, my name is Pat Cannell. I'm a certified forester, forestry consultant, working as Timberland Forestry Services for R&R Conner. You've just seen all of this from the air in Ryan's helicopter. Now we're going to look at it up close here on the ground. On our right, we see all of the stuff of a forest that had not been thinned and not opened up the canopy. In other words, where all of the branches are, so that they were not all clustered together. On our left, you can see an open, wide-spaced forest that there's quite a few feet between each tree. And you also notice that there's even some char on those bottom of those trees. Now, when the fire came, it came up from the bottom on this slope and hit both the private ground and the national forest ground exactly at the same time. The intensity of the fire was the same, the wind was the same, the weather was the same, but the results of that fire was dramatically different on private ground because of the thinning. It did not kill a tree. They're still standing because the fire was on the ground and it came through in a flash fire condition very fast. Whereas on the national forest here, they had so much undergrowth that the fire came in, it lingered just like in a campfire and stayed there, and it got hot. And as it got hot on the ground, it didn't go quite as fast through the area, and all of that heat grew to such intensity that it killed the exact same species of tree, the ponderosa pine that's native here. Now, if you think what we've just been looking at is bad, I'm going to take you up the road and show you a site that is ripe for a real environmental disaster of a fire. I think that it's rather simplistic, but one of the primary presumptions that forestry had for all of the western area that is kind of a fire-adapted community is that, you know, it beats the heck out of watching all these trees burn, cause smoke, pollution, damage water and everything, that instead of watching these trees die, grow old, fall over, do things like that, that we utilize them for these building products. The presumption, again, is this: if we manage the woods, we can do a pretty fair job of replicating some of the impacts of fire without having the negative impacts of having a big fire. You can do nothing in the woods without having an impact. And you have to balance all of the issues that you're dealing with and say, just letting it be natural as though mankind was not here, that is not an option for forestry. What is an option is that we sit and look at the hillside and maybe we have had a fire, maybe we've had an insect infestation, we got a bunch of dead trees. We can sit there and analyze what's the best way to utilize that wood, not waste it, harvest it, get the area regenerated and replanted, and then we come out with a decision, and guys like Ryan bring in a crew of some of the best people that I've ever known in my life. They're a good bunch of guys, and they're the salt of the earth type of people that made this country of ours as strong as it is. I'm singing to the choir, maybe. I'm a forester, but I'd rather see homes built out of wood than out of steel or aluminum or anything like that, because every tree that's cut that's used for building products or for paper or anything else, another one can grow there. It's a renewable resource naturally. Remember, the term ecology comes from Greek, of the study of a house. It's a holistic approach to management of everything around us. Well, you can't realistically manage the national forests, the woods, with a presumption of we need to manage it without mankind, because man is a significant participant in the natural order of things nowadays. We're out here in part of the area that got burnt, and we've had a thunderstorm come in, and we're getting a little bit of rain right now. That's good. But the thunderstorm is what caused the fire originally in 2000. And what's going to happen now is you're starting to see all of this dead timber from the fire started to lose because of the dead roots. They're starting to topple over, just like this one right next to me. As they all concentrate and fall down on the floor of the forest, the next lightning storm, when it gets good and dry instead of this rain that we're in, is going to start another fire, but all of the fuel is going to be down here on the ground, and the fuel will carry along the ground, and the heat will kill whether it's brush or trees that have regenerated after the first fire. That's why a stand replacement fire takes multiple fires to occur, taking the ground out of production, damaging the ground, the stream course that I'm standing in, developing sediment into the stream, killing wildlife, and the regeneration like you see all around here, the Doug fir and the pine. All of these trees, as they have burnt in the original fire, and here's another strike. That's Mother Nature. And Mother Nature is not always friendly and happy. She can get pretty mad, and she can do things like starting fires and killing wildlife and causing big problems for us that we generally don't want.
R&R Conner Inc. is a unique helicopter logging company because we specialize in dead standing timber. Although there are many different methods of harvesting dead standing timber, we at R&R Conner feel that using the helicopter has the least amount of impact to the residual timber and the soils on the ground. Because everything is being airlifted out of the forest and taken to a landing or a road that already exists. The way helicopter logging works is it's really simple actually compared to most methods of logging. We actually find a dead stand of timber or identify it, and we'll send a forester in, and he'll go ahead and mark the dead trees that will be taken out of this timber stand and leave all the green trees and the healthy trees and try to mimic what Mother Nature does naturally through fire historically. Then we send timber fallers in. The timber fallers go in and they fall the tree, they buck the limbs off of it, and they cut it to length for the helicopter. And after that we send guys in on the ground that are called hookers. Hookers are the guys that actually hook the logs to the long line on the helicopter. So the hookers will make turns, which are several logs or one log, just depends on the size of the tree, up to 4,000 pounds. They'll then hook them to the helicopter and send this turn to the log landing where the chaser, we call it a chaser, there's a guy on the landing that takes the chokers off the logs and coils them and gets them ready to be taken back out to the hookers. And that process goes on and on and on and on. The logs come in, the chokers get taken off and get sent back out. Well, meanwhile, we have a log loader on the landing, so when the logs come in, the log loader picks up the logs and he pulls them through a delimber that actually finishes bucking the limbs that are left on the log and cleaning them up and getting them ready to put them on a log truck. Once he puts them on the log truck, they get hauled to R&R Conner's sort yard at Conner, Montana, where they are then merchandised and bucked to specific sizes, lengths, and grades depending on the market for that specific log.
To me, helilogging is the most fun you can have with your clothes on. It's like a big video game. I've got my joystick, I'm getting my hook moving as fast as I can and going to my little orange men and trying to deliver them the hook. And we're just having fun all day long. We've got a group of guys out in the woods we call choker setters. And these men, they choke the choker onto the log, and then I'll come in with a helicopter on a 180-foot long line, delivering the hook to the men on the ground. They'll go ahead and hook me up to these logs, and they're clear. I'll pull away, take the logs up through the canopy so it doesn't disturb anything on the ground. And fly it to the landing. Our turn times for each one of these intervals can be 90 seconds. And so you can deliver 600 logs a day to the landing using this method. Our turn times of 90 seconds means in an hour's time in a helicopter, you're doing anywhere from 27 to 35 turns per hour. It's a high production, really demanding job in that the guys have to be alert, they've got to be focused, they've got to know what their job is and perform it to the ultimate.
Just great helilogging out here. The adrenaline goes as chopper starts in the morning and you're cranked up, ready to go, ready to work. It's a beautiful day. We've got a job out here to do, and hopefully we can do it as best as we can. The reason we helilog this is there's ground in here that can be accessible to other types of machines, and it's more environmentally sound to do it. It leaves the forest cleaner, and especially as beetle killed stuff is for eradicate the disease and where we can, and have fun doing it. It's good stuff.
It's in my blood. I love it. Good hard work. Wonderful people. You sleep good every night. You might hurt a little bit, but you sleep good. Good money. You just gotta love it. It's just intense. I mean, it's high adrenaline. For an hour and 40 minutes, it's high adrenaline. Then you get a 10-minute break when they fuel up. And you can actually gather yourself back up and get ready for the next cycle.
The most exciting part about working with Ryan and R&R Conner is just his passion for making a difference. He truly loves the woods. He's a true environmentalist by all terms of the word. He is very alive when he goes out into the woods, and he cares deeply about it. R&R Conner started with Ryan's dream to make a difference. He started off as a young kid that didn't like working for other folks, but grew up in the woods and had a passion for it. He truly has spearheaded a whole new way that the industry goes. And so some of the things that we're working on today are exciting to both of us, as well as our crew and the people around us, because this is our opportunity to make a difference. In the fires of 2000, there was 300,000 acres of timber burned right here in our backyard. And we have to look at it every day. And being in the aviation world, we fly a lot of it and get off the beaten path and see so much more than everybody else sees. And so not only are we looking at from a beauty perspective of our backyard and the national forests and the range that our animals live in and people make their livings, but we're also looking at it from our perspective as a timber harvesting company, looking at just millions and millions of board feet of timber that's being wasted. There's so much that can be done out there to clean it up, as well as merchandising that timber into a resource that everybody can put into their homes and all the other resources that timber products go into.
Now that you've been on a tour in the helicopter and you've got a chance to see R&R Conner's operations from the air, you've got to see hundreds of thousands of acres of burnt timber and see what the bark beetle epidemic has done to our forests. We do not believe in wasting our forests, watching it burn, watching it die of bugs and fall on the ground and become future fires and virtually just be wasted. We feel that we can bring it into the yard and we can actually recover value out of those logs instead of letting them go to waste. So it is a pride thing, you know, and it's the way the future is going, because we have to use the resources that we have in our own country and quit being dependent on other countries such as Canada and Chile and New Zealand. I mean, we bring wood from all over the world to the United States when we have a forest full of dead trees that could be utilized to fulfill those markets. I feel that Mother Nature has given us a gift that is about as ecologically sound as it can get. The wood that competes with this has to be shipped for hundreds of miles at a great expense. And not only that, this wood doesn't require massive amounts of energy using a dry kiln for weeks at a time. It's literally hauled a few miles to our yard and is already fully cured, dried, and stable. Mother Nature already took care of that in the arid mountains of Montana.
This wood is just amazing. Because of the type of mill used by R&R, each log is individually evaluated by our sawyers and cut to maximize its value. The soft sap wood on the outer portion of each log is cut off, leaving beautiful amber-colored beams, timbers, and lumber. And what you see is what you get. This wood is extremely stable, which makes it ideal for architects, structural engineers, timber framers, and custom home builders. Our wood is ideal for being resawn into a variety of products such as flooring, siding, paneling, trim, and much more. Nothing is wasted. What's left over or doesn't meet our grading specifications will get cut into firewood and sold, from small bundles used in campgrounds to full cords and even truckloads to warm our homes and businesses. We take a lot of pride in what we do, and that pride and passion is felt by everyone at R&R Conner. From our sawyers and workers in the yard, to our drivers, to our teams out in the woods and those in the sky.
If there's anything that I'd like people to get out of this message that R&R is trying to make, is the fact that logging is not necessarily a bad word. It's actually a technique or a tool that is used to manage our forests and extract valuable resources that we use in everyday life, not just our homes. All a person really needs to do is take a look around him and look at all the things that come from our forests that are made out of wood. We feel that we are the true stewards of the forest. We live in the forest every day. We see what's going on out there. And the techniques and the methods of logging that are being used in the 21st century are actually enhancing the forest and helping prevent future wildfires or devastation from outbreaks of bark beetles. We feel that by using these methods of logging, we can actually mimic what Mother Nature did and live amongst it with minimal impact. The bottom line is it's a resource. And if we let this resource rot and die in the forest or burn up in a forest fire, it makes no sense because we actually have a demand for these resources. If there was no demand, we wouldn't be doing it and that we would have no need for them. The non-management approach is actually hurting the forest more than it's helping it. We as humans, we live amongst these forests. And if we take the human element out of it and try to go back to the way it was before we came here, it's virtually impossible to live amongst it, and we all enjoy the beauty of the forest. So we hope to show people that we can coexist and utilize the forest that we need for our next generation.